which we'll get into a little later. But hey,
Oh,
man,
most definitely.
let's start
Most
off
definitely.
Elimination Chamber. So, Too Cold,
Right.
man, you and I, man, we are at odds with this pay-per-view because I thought it was a pretty decent pay-per-view. You seem to be on the other end of the spectrum, man. And, I told you that I feel good about the pay-per-view and confidence, man. I told you this. I was excited to tell you this because we both know how we feel about WWE at times and pro wrestling in general. I thought that I had a homie. I thought I had a friend. I thought I had a brother in arms who understood where I was coming from. And you absolutely just, you rejected me, man. You rejected me. I mean, this is worse than any female rejection I've ever dealt with in my life. The disappointment on your face was worse than when I failed the OGT for the first time. I mean, I don't know what to say, man. Much like my pops, I apologize, but it didn't matter. So I want to talk to you, man, and figure out what's going on in the mind of Too Cold, bro. What's going on, brother? Them damn standardized tests. Setting our youth up for failure. That shit haunt me 18 years later.
Oh shit, man! I think it haunted a lot of people 18 years later. That shit. Yo, man. All right, man. Look. I did not enjoy this pay-per-view. It was barely mid.
He said negative mid.
Not barely. It was barely. It wasn't on the negative side. It was barely mid. I either was less than barely mid, bad, or worse, whatever. But this was barely mid. All right, now the first match, of course, Miz and Ray. Pre-show, didn't even watch it. It is what it is. Ray won. I thought Miz would win, but Ray won. Then we started off with the Roman Reigns versus Roman Reigns versus Goldberg, and yeah, it was pretty much what I thought it would be. I mean, Goldberg is 65, 66 years old, man. I mean, he just had knee surgery, so not really sure how healthy he really is to be able to move in the ring. I mean, he had this little couple of spots where he speared Roman Reigns, but Roman beating him didn't really do nothing for me. It was cool. It was a cool match, but him choking him out, man, making Goldberg pass out to get the victory. I mean, it played up to who Roman Reigns is, but it was like, Goldberg. It's like, all right, man, this match, okay, good, it was over. Like, all right, good. Now Goldberg has lost. Let's move on. Let's move on. So that's what that felt like to me. Franchise, what did it feel like to you, man?
Exactly what you said. But so okay. The Roman versus Goldberg match, the only reason I'm not tripping too much on it was because it went longer than I thought it would, right? I didn't think by no means this was going to be a 5-star match, a 3-star match, hell, a 2-star match. I just didn't want to see Roman or Goldberg beat the other in 5 seconds. That's it. And then there were a couple of spots in this match where it was interesting. Now, was it repetitive? Sure. I mean, come on, spear for spear. We all know Goldberg, all he's going to do is hit you with a spear.
Goldberg.
Yeah.
Goldberg.
Hit you with a jackhammer, and that's it. And he's going to bleed a little bit on the top of his head because he always cracks his shit before he comes out to the ring. But other than that, it is what it is. I will say this, though. I didn't look at this match in terms of, okay, this is going to be a great match. I looked at this match in the terms and the significance of solidifying Roman Reigns as, quote unquote, the greatest wrestler of the modern era. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying talent-wise he's the greatest wrestler of the modern era, because guess what? You got a lot. But it's clear that that's the vision that Vince McMahon and WWE has for Roman Reigns. He's already beat everybody on the active roster damn near. Okay, so what's left for Roman Reigns to do in this title run besides hold the title for 530 plus days? Now you got to take out some of the biggest names in the business. You already had him beat Taker. You already had him take the title off of Lesnar. Now you're going through Goldberg. Okay, literally, it's kind of like what Becky Lynch said about Lita. You know, if there wasn't a leader, there wouldn't be a Becky Lynch. But now that there's a Becky Lynch, Lita, we don't need you no more. You're done. I think that's kind of what what they're doing with Roman Reigns. You know, we complain about all these part-timers coming back. Okay, well, let Roman Reigns go ahead, get rid of all them, beat all them. There's no reason for you to come back anymore. You are the big dog. You are the top dog. And that's kind of how I looked at it, man. I kind of just looked at this as, you know, just another notch in the belt of a Hall of Fame career for Roman Reigns.
It was. That's what it was supposed to be 2 years ago at WrestleMania before, you know, the pandemic hit. So that, you know, I said that's what it was. They're just paying that off. This is Goldberg's last match. I love Goldberg. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge fan of Goldberg, but I've hated the way they've brought him back and the way they've diminished some people. It's like when he came back to fight Drew beat him. You know what I'm saying? Like when he came back to then he would have a one-off with Dolph or whatever, and then, you know, or he beat The Fiend, and then he beat Kevin Owens, and then he beat Goldberg, but then Goldberg beat him. You know, so it's like he beat Brock and then Brock beat him. Yeah, man. So, you know, it's just some of it been cool. Like when he first came back, it was cool. We hadn't seen him, but then it was like you kind of saw the writing on the wall that they were using Goldberg just for a cheap pop, and it kind of wore down, man. And after a while, it's like, man, when will this end? Like I like seeing them, but it's too much. It's almost like the way they used to use legends before. How legends are supposed to be spontaneous. You're not supposed to see certain ones all the time. It was different with Ric Flair because he was more like a managerial, but other guys, you know, because you saw them, but they were being wasted. It wasn't no meaning behind it, or it was just something stupid. You lost that nostalgia to want to see them. You know, so now with Brock, with Goldberg, I believe now with this, he'll be gone for a while. I think he's done. I think he's done. He may have one more, but I think he's done.
And I think sorry not to cut you off, but I think if he is done, Roman, this was the perfect way to go out. Like leave it here. Leave it here. You came back, you and Roman, you lived up to the match that was supposed to happen 2 years ago. You paid off your debt. You good.
Right.
We don't need to see it no more. There's nobody else for you to fight. Unless you're gonna fucking fight Austin Theory. But no. No.
No. We don't want... No, we don't need to see that.